place this right in the middle of my page. And keep it nice and light. Notice that I'm not just drawing 1 or 2 lines here. I keep going back and forth, brushing my pencil against the paper, and drawing multiple lines. So if it, is a little tilted, you can always adjust the shape here and there. And once you have that rectangle on your page, that is Winnie the Pooh. No, I'm kidding. Let's add in some guidelines. We're going to divide this up roughly into 3 pieces. So you want to have what looks like a stripe in the middle, or you should see just 3 rectangles stacked on top of each other. We're going to take these 2 guidelines that we added in, and I'm going to extend them out a little bit more here on the left side. We're going to create one more smaller rectangle by closing the 2 lines off together. So you should have something that looks like a square coffee mug, or it looks like a briefcase sitting on its side. We'll have one more guideline, just one more. It's going to be concentrated in this top rectangle between this top left corner and your first guideline. Find the halfway point. I like to put a little mark there so I know where it's at. And between that same top left corner and now the right corner, find the halfway point there. I'm going to connect them together with this diagonal line. Now do we see Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of us. Yeah. Some of us might need a little visual aid. I got you. Boop. Look at him. We're going to draw him in a profile. So that's why we started off with the rectangle. So right over here, this is where our snout is going to be. And Winnie the Pooh is such a great example of how rough sketching works. Because now we want to take these straight lines and start to make him not Minecraft Winnie the Pooh. We want to make him a stuffed bear. So you want to soften things up. His nose is going to be this letter C curve over here towards the front corner. And we're going to take those corners and round it out here too. So now we have a soft little boopable nose. And this is what we want to keep. You don't want to keep the straight lines because those are just guidelines there to help you. We're going to go back over that gumdrop shaped nose and make it really nice and dark. So your eyes will focus in on the dark lines rather than the lighter straight lines. And you'll see that little gumdrop standing out over everything else. This is called locking in our lines or locking down our shapes. And this is why we don't need erasers. If you would like to, you can add some shading here. He does have that darker nose. And it does blend away some of the lines underneath too. We're going to take his muzzle and start to round out these corners as well. So I'm going to add in this parentheses and start to round out that bottom left corner. And it doesn't have to stick into your rectangle. It can come outside of the rectangle if that's the way the curve is going. But I'm going to stretch out from his nose, just underneath his nose here, this big letter U shape. And I'm going to curve that letter U right into the middle of my second rectangle here. That's going to be his smile. And his smile is going to end with what we call a smile line. So add in this little rainbow where you end his smile. Should look like the Amazon symbol now. At the lowest part of his smile of that letter U shape, we're going to add in a small letter C. This will be his lower lip. And his lower lip, well, it connects to where his chin is. If he had a chin, he eats so much honey the chin doesn't exist anymore. It just goes right back into his neck. So add in parentheses from the lower half of the letter C to the bottom of your rectangle. That gives us the bottom third of Winnie the Pooh. And then you can lock in and round out the top part of his snout here. Whatever's left of that little rectangle you had. We're about halfway done with our sketch of Pooh Bear, and I'm going to give you guys a chance here to catch up and tell you a little bit more about this bear. He didn't start off as Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh was a later name he got from a bear that Christopher Robin loved to meet in the 100-acre woods. But his original name was Edward Bear. And Christopher Robin, he went to the London Zoo a lot with his father, and he, crazily enough, in the 1800s, they got to ride the bears at the zoo. Yeah. it really exists now. But he loved Winnipeg so much. That was what her name was. She was named Winnipeg after Winnipeg, Canada, where she came from. And he loved her so much that he named the bear after his stuffed bear after her. The Pooh part comes from a swan that he didn't like at the park. He called the swan Pooh because it acted like Pooh. But he is a little stuffed bear, and Winnipeg, she has a sloping forehead. That is something that black bears have, and that's why we have this diagonal line here for our Winnie the Pooh. We want to create in the front ridge of his forehead just by drawing this parentheses about halfway up from his snout, and then rounding out the front with another stretched out C. Just careful not to make this stick out too far, otherwise he starts looking like Franken Winnie the Pooh. I mean, sometimes Halloween is life, you just live it forever. But we're going to jump to the other side of that diagonal line, and I'm going to start to round out this far right side of his head. Keep this nice and light, though. So you want to round out that top corner, shaving it away. And you'll bring this backwards letter C down to the second guideline we added in. And then we'll add in a small forward-facing letter C right underneath that. So it's like a backwards stretched out letter S. And now you have Winnie the Seal. Or it's Gerald from Finding Dory. To make him a bear, bears have very tiny ears on tops of their heads, which is very strange because bears are predators, and predators usually have big ears. So if friend-shaped, why not friend? We're going to add in this oval that sticks out about halfway, and sticks in halfway. It's going to poke out there. But we're not going to keep the whole oval. We're just going to keep the sides and the top of it, because the bottom is what's sewn onto his head. So to keep it from looking like it got ripped off and sewn back on, you just want to leave that bottom part open, and it'll look like it's still part of his head. We will see a little bit of the other ear right behind that forehead of his and right up against his other ear. So just add this little rainbow on the other side. Very simple. You can go back and start to lock in his forehead. Now these Winnie the Pooh characters, they did not originate from Walt Disney. They were storybook characters back in the day. Winnie the Pooh and his friends, they're over 100 years old, so they exist in what's called the public domain now. Walt Disney adapted them in the 1960s though, and when he did so, he decided to keep something for Winnie the Pooh that he actually didn't have in the storybooks. It was a toy company that gave him his iconic shirt. So I'm going to draw the collar of his red shirt by drawing this rainbow that goes from the front of his neck to the back. And you want to extend it past each end, so that way he's got a loose fitting shirt, so that way he can eat as much honey as he wants. I'm going to draw this parentheses here in the front to show that the shirt is wrapping around his neck, and the sideways letter J for the back of it. But Winnie the Pooh, he is missing something. He needs his eye. What kind of eyes do stuffed animals have? They got little buttons, right? And that's how we can tell the stuffed animals from the real animals in the 100-Acre Woods. Yes, there are real animals in the stories. There's only 3 of them, though. One was added by Walt Disney. Does anyone know which 3 characters I might be talking about? Rabbit, So if you see them here on the stage, they're stuffed. I heard owl, yes. And the last one, he digs holes in the ground, he whistles when he talks. Yeah, gopher. Gopher actually was added by Walt Disney. He was never in the original books. So we're going to add in his button eye, right above his smile, right on that eye line here. You can draw a different button if you want to. You can draw a heart button, maybe a honey pot shaped button. But I like to make his smile reach his eye by drawing in a little rainbow here underneath it. It's just pushing right up against the button eye. Makes him look extra pudgy and cute. But I'm going to give him an eyebrow. And he's got some thicker brows. You don't want to give him some 90s brows. So really build up that brow shape, make it nice and thick in the middle. And that's everything that you need for your own sketch of Pooh Bear. Anything else you want to add is extra credit. If you want to show that the shirt is a different color from the rest of his yellow fur, adding in some tone will help with that. Use the side of your pencil, it makes that nice and even. But the last and final step is finding a good spot somewhere next to your sketch of Pooh Bear and signing your name.